Kaima was a woman who turned heads, but not in the way you might think. At 25, her looks were often the subject of whispers. She was heavyset, her features unremarkable, and her confidence to others seemed misplaced. But Kaima didn't care. She wasn't defined by how she looked. She was defined by what she wore, specifically her shoes. Kaima had a love for shoes that bordered on obsession. From glittering high heels to sleek leather loafers, she owned a pair for every occasion. Her closet overflowed with vibrant colors, intricate designs, and expensive brands. She believed her shoes were more than just accessories. They were the key to her success. Whenever she slipped into a pair, she felt unstoppable, powerful, smart, and ready to conquer the world. And conquer it is, she'd said. Kaima worked at a high-profile corporate company, and her bosses adored her. Her sharp mind and persuasive tongue made her the go-to person for closing deals. No one could rival her ability to charm clients, steal contracts, and deliver results. But what no one knew was that Kaima had a secret hidden in the shoes. Years ago, Kaima had met an old vendor at a village market. He was a popular man with a mysterious air about him. Among his wares, he displayed a pair of shoes unlike any Kaima had ever seen. Their craftsmanship was exquisite, and they seemed to glow in the sunlight. The vendor looked at her as if he could see her soul. "These shoes," he said, "will make you extraordinary. They hold the power to make your words irresistible. Wear them and the world will follow your lead." Kaima was skeptical, but she couldn't resist the allure of the shoe. She bought them, and the vendor handed her a small vial of red powder. "Sprinkle this into the sole," he whispered. "It's the magic that will make the shoe work." At first, she thought it was a scam, but the first time she wore the shoes to a client meeting, something incredible happened. As she spoke, everyone in the room hung on her every word. Her proposals were accepted without hesitation. The deal, one of the biggest in her company's history, was sealed. From that day, Kaima was a believer. She bought more shoes and carefully added a pinch of the powder into each pair. She became unstoppable and her career blossomed. Years passed and Kaima's reputation grew. Her colleagues admired her, her bosses trusted her, and her clients referenced her. Everyone wanted to know her secret, but she kept it to herself. They thought it was her charisma or her handwork, and Kaima let them believe that. Deep down, she knew the truth. Her shoes and the magic within them were the source of her success. One day, the company faced its most significant challenge yet, a contract with an international conglomerate worth millions. The stakes were high and the pressure was enormous. The board turned to Kaima. "You are our best chooser," they said. "If anyone can do this, then it's you." Kaima smiled confidently and reached for her most expensive pair of heels. They were red, studded with tiny gemstones, and of course, filled with a fresh pinch of the magical powder. As she walked into the meeting, heads turned. Her voice was steady, her argument compelling, and her presence commanding. By the end of the day, the contract was signed and the company shared in celebration. Kaima, as always, was the star. That night, she sat in her lavish apartment. Kaima stared at her shoes. They had brought her so much wealth, respect, and a reputation as the company's top closer. But for the first time, she wondered if it was all a lie. Was it truly the shoes, or was it her hard work and talent? The doubts stared at her. The next morning, Kaima made a bold decision. She chose a simpler pair of flats. No magic, no powder, just ordinary shoes. When she walked into the office, her colleagues noticed immediately. "No heels today?" one of them asked. Kaima smiled and shook it off. "I don't need them." Her heart pondered as she entered the boardroom for another high-stakes meeting. Without the magic of her shoes, she felt exposed. But as she began to speak, something remarkable happened. The clients listened, they nodded, they equally agreed. Kaima sealed the deal, and it was just as smooth as every other time. It was then that Kaima realized the truth. The shoes had never been the source of her power. They had only given her the confidence to believe in herself. The late nights of preparations, the hours spent redefining her pitches, the determination to succeed, that was the real magic. The powder, the shoes, the vendor, they had only been a clutch. From that day forward, Kaima wore her beloved shoes, but for a different reason. They no longer held magic for her. Instead, they reminded her of the strength she always had within. Her confidence came from her abilities, her preparations, and her unwavering belief in herself. The moral of the story is clear. True power doesn't come from what you wear or own. It comes from within. Confidence is the magic that drives success, and no object can replace the hard work and determination that leads to greatness. Kaima learned that her greatest asset wasn't in her shoes, but in herself after all.